start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, 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 believe. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, if you just believe, if you just believe, if you just believe. Listen to your heart, listen to your heart, listen to your heart, listen to your heart.
Yes, people, welcome back to another stream. We wanted to push it back a little bit tonight because I know a lot of you also watched the Big Six, so we wanted to kind of wait till the Big Six was done. Obviously, I wasn't on tonight. I had work commitments. Apologies if you're expecting me on the show, but I just couldn't make it. I'll be back on Monday. But listen, tonight we're going to talk about Brentford at home tomorrow morning, the early kickoff. If for those of you who don't know us very well, you will know, or I'll tell you anyway, that me and Joe, we hate the early kickoff. What's the unwritten rule? Don't back the early kickoff. Don't place your money on the early kickoff because it always throws a spanner in the works. And the last time we had an early kickoff was what? Leicester away 2 weeks ago. That was a tricky game. I'm expecting tomorrow to be a relatively tricky game too. The World Cup on the horizon. There's no denying people. A lot of players will have turned their attention very much so towards the World Cup. We have 16 players involved in this year's World Cup, and none of them want to pick up an injury on the last day before the World Cup. So I think it's going to be an interesting one to talk about. You can see Joe's predicted starting 11 up on screen right now. I'm going to see who's in the building, and while I'm doing that, people, make sure you smash the like button. I don't know how many likes we're on right now. There's about 15 people in the building. If you haven't done so, smash the like button, get it up, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We had a great stream last night. We hit over 100 likes while we were live for the first time ever. That's a big milestone for us as a community, for us as the content creators, and for you as members of this great community. It's a big milestone. We're hitting milestones together, people. Love for the love, as always. Let's see who we've got. Kerwin, as always. Barry, as always. Darsh, Alec, Luke, Tyrese, D1, all the usuals. We're going to have a nice chill one. Anything you guys want to say in the chat, stick it in. Me and Joe will have a conversation. We'll have a nice relaxed one, nothing too serious, because there's no issues. There's nothing to complain about. It sounds like, other than Kyle Walker, we have a relatively fully fit squad. I know we're going to talk about Haaland's situation. There was some comments from Pep in his press conference today regarding Haaland's fitness situation. I know he's got a bit of a ligament thing, but then we're going to talk about, you know, the fact that the World Cup is coming after. He's not going. There's things to be said. There's things to be ironed out as regards to this, but in terms of this fixture overall, it's a sticky one. I think it has a sticky one written all over it. I know Brentford, they're doing all right this season. They're doing all right. I think Brentford will stay up. They'll be just fine. They're causing teams problems, but I think a big blow for them recently has been the fact they didn't have Ivan Toney, who I'm pretty sure I just saw confirmation recently or this afternoon that Toney is available for tomorrow's game. I believe he was suspended for a while, if I'm not mistaken, but he's back for tomorrow, and he was in fine form before he picked up suspension, so we're going to have to be on form. I suppose, Joe, before we get into the ins and outs of it, what is your thoughts overall? 12:30 in the Etihad against Brentford. It's either going to be a walk in the park for us, or else it's going to be really, really sticky, and we're going to have to grind it out.
I think it's going to be another grind because, I mean, I know we've kind of picked up performances, but, I mean, look at Chelsea. We talked about Chelsea. We didn't have to get out of first gear. They were just dreadful. Like, Brentford, they're no walkovers. I mean, I know it was a while ago now, but they were 4-0 up at half-time against our neighbours. So let's not forget that they can, on their day, cause teams trouble. They're not the easiest teams to beat. They are very well organised. They are very good at set pieces. I'd say that's their main threat, which is something that we're going to have to watch out for, because as of recently, or at least as of what I can remember recently, we haven't been the best at defending set pieces. I mean, what was it, Sevilla, where we conceded a set piece, and it just hasn't been as good as it was last season. So I expect them to cause us a few troubles. I think it was D1 Millie who said that Ake instead of Diaz. In my personal opinion, I wouldn't start Ake. I've got nothing against him, but for a team that relies on height and set pieces and long throw-ins, I won't be starting my 5'10" centre half. That's just my preference. It's not really something I'd look forward to personally, but I don't know. Maybe he would. I'm not really too keen. If I just want to get this across right now, is the fact that we keep changing centre back partnerships almost every game. I think that I'm sort of okay with it for now, pre-World Cup, because I know we have everyone fit and it's sort of load management because like every single one of our players is going to that World Cup, so you got to spread out the load and make sure everyone's playing sort of fewer games by rotating almost every game. But post-World Cup, I want to see a set partnership. I want to see a set, maybe not back four, obviously you've got to rotate at times. We do have other players that can come in, but I want to see a centre-back partnership that's almost like when it comes to a big game, they are going to play. I don't want to see none of this, 1 week Akanji's playing with Ake and then he's playing with Diaz and then Laporte's in and then Stones is at right back or is it centre-back. I don't want any of that because later on in the season, if you don't get time to, we talked about this in the front three, if you don't get time to build up these relationships, it can cost you. It can cost you. There can be sort of teething issues early on. I know most of the players have played together, but it's not a good thing having someone like Akanji in there who's never played with any of them and he's got a new partner every single week. Like, it's not the best thing for him. He'd do even better if he had a regular partner. But that's just something that it just kind of come across my mind as I look at the back four, because there's a few suggestions as to what he could do. I don't know what he's going to do. This is unprecedented. We barely ever have fully fit squads. Usually it's quite easy to predict most of the team because we usually have a couple of injuries and it's pretty obvious what he's going to do, but I have no idea. Like for Chelsea, I have no idea what he's going to do. He could pull out a madness. We don't know whether Haaland's going to start. We don't know whether he's fit enough to start, whether they're going to risk him, whether there even is, a risk there considering he's not going to the World Cup. We don't know what the situation is with the centre-backs, who he's going to pick, considering we've got all five of them, and you could essentially put any two centre-backs in any given order, and you can't really think of a reason as to say, no, he's not going to do that. Like, you could genuinely go with any partnership, which, again, it's a bit of a worry because not having that set partnership there to build the chemistry could hurt you later on in the season. But it's done as well so far. Like, we've got the one loss against Liverpool and that's it.
I think it's very hard for Pep to decide on a set partnership in that area of the pitch because there's now five very competent, very good centre halves there. Probably three, or probably two, who are slightly better than the rest. And when I say those two, it might come to your shock, people, that I don't put Diaz in that two. Definitely in the last 12 months, I don't think Diaz has been as good as John Stones and Aymeric Laporte. I think if you're looking at the best centre half partnership based on the last 12 months, you're looking at John Stones and Aymeric Laporte. But you can't really take Diaz out either because Stones and Laporte, whilst they're both great centre halves and they're technically very good and they do their jobs great, you can't really take out Diaz's leadership qualities. So it's a bit of a conundrum for Pep Guardiola as to who he goes with. And obviously Ake is a very good player. Akanji's been very good at centre half whenever he's been there too. But I think a designated centre half partnership is hard to see ever happening at City because of the amount of football we play. And I spoke about last night how I want to compete on all four fronts as much as possible. I want to compete at all four fronts, and having these five centre halves available is the only way we're going to do it. So it's going to be hard. We're not going to get like a Diaz Matip situation where it's just Van Dijk Matip. Sorry, I'm going to say Virgil van Dijk and Matip. When they played for Liverpool for basically a long time, it was just those two every single week. They grinded it out, they did their thing, they formed their partnership. You won't get that at Manchester City. And obviously a number of our centre halves can also play in the full-back areas of the pitch and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a tough one. And then with obviously the fact that we have a regular or ongoing injury crisis at centre half too, it's quite hard to see it. I mean, how often do we have at least one, if not two, centre halves out with long-term injuries? That's just been the pattern over the last 2-3 years. Someone is out with a long-term injury. So I think it's a tough one. And you spoke on the threats that Brentford will pose. And my personal opinion as to how Brentford will approach the game tomorrow is not how other teams have had success against us. Other teams who've had success against us, people will know who watch the games. They get in our faces, they press high risk, high reward. They try to get in our faces and, catch us off guard and then, counter really quickly and score a goal. That's how it's worked. Newcastle did it. Liverpool have done it. Palace did it last year. Southampton did it last year. We've seen teams do it and it's been effective. We've seen teams try it and get absolutely mauled. I think for at least a while of that 6-0 versus Nottingham Forest, they tried to do it until they were getting absolutely peppered and realised they have to go straight back into damage limitation mode. I think Brentford will approach differently. I think they'll be more pragmatic. I think they'll set up with a lower block. I think they'll try to keep it at bay for as long as possible. They will probably play on the fact that they know a number of our players are very much or have very much turned their attention to the World Cup. Like I said at the start of the stream, it will be an absolute disaster and a heartbreak of the highest nature for any player to pick up an injury this weekend that rules them out of the World Cup. They would be absolutely, considering the squads have been announced, their names are on paper, their names are on the list, they've got their boarding passes and their flights booked. It's happening. To then pick up, say, like a knee injury or an ankle injury or something that will put you out for a month. They don't want that. So a lot of the players will play a lot more cautious. They'll be more reserved tomorrow and across all the fixtures this weekend. So I think Brentford will play on that. They'll sit deeper and, they'll try to play on the counter if they can. But the point Joe made was the one I'm looking at most. They're a big team. Physically, Brentford are a big team. I was looking at their squad here, or their predicted starting 11. You see players like Ben Mee, big guy. Ethan Pinnock, big guy. They've got some players that they look at and as an aerial threat. So set pieces will be huge for them. And that's probably why I wouldn't go with Nathan Ake. You can see in our predicted starting 11. We're going to run through the predicted starting 11 now very shortly. As always, get your thoughts in. But I think Joe's right to not pick Ake for that, because this is one of those days where Brentford will be looking to, if they're to win, a 1-0 or a 2-1 via set piece goals, scrappy goals. It's not going to be pretty football. I think tomorrow's going to be an absolute slog from everybody involved, for both Brentford and for us. But anyway, let's get into the starting 11 that Joe went with. I think we have to go tomorrow as strong as we possibly can, bearing in mind the World Cup's coming up and bearing in mind some injury and fitness issues, i.e. Kyle Walker, Calvin Phillips is trying to get fit. And then also I'm sure Pep has fully bared in mind the players are going to a World Cup. I'm pretty sure the starting 11 I'm looking at here on screen that Joe gave us, I'm pretty sure all of them, bar Haaland, am I right? Everybody but Haaland is going to the World Cup. And I think this is a pretty accurate prediction from Joe. Ederson and Nets, he's going to the World Cup, probably won't start. I think Alisson will start for Brazil, but nevertheless, Ederson will not want to get injured. Stones at right back, I think that's a trusty option. I always love John Stones at right back. I think he's grown into his skin a lot this season, become really versatile. He's a really technically good footballer, John Stones, and we're seeing that more and more over time. But once again, John Stones, he's seeing his good friend Kyle Walker with an injury issue, just scraped his way onto the plane to Qatar based on the fact that Southgate trusts him so much. It's in the back of his head. Stones does not want an injury. He saw Reece James pick up an injury, who's now not going. These players don't want this to happen to them. Akanji and Diaz, I think, is the best option you can go with, based on the fact that myself and Joe both spoke about the height thing, the set piece thing that Southampton, or Brentford, why do I keep calling them Southampton? Brentford will try to throw at us, whenever they get a corner, whenever they get a free kick in a decent crossing position on the edge of the box, they'll try to plant it on their own centre half's head. You see the way they sit up, they'll put both their centre halves into the box in the attacking areas, and they'll drop maybe an attacking midfielder deep to cover up the potential for a counter attack. That's what you can expect, I think, from these teams, particularly the Etihad. And then Cancelo also going to the World Cup. I think it's one of those games where you just got to get in, get out, get your 1 or 2-0 win, get your 3 points and move on. It's not one of those games where we're looking to make a statement. It's not going to be one of those pretty games where, we're trying to run them off the park or play our football to the best of our ability. It's just do what we need to do what needs to be done, get the points, get the goals, leave the stadium and let the players fuck off to the World Cup and do the thing in Qatar. I mean, what was your thought process, Joe, on picking that back four?
Essentially, just worrying about the Brentford threat. That's what your mind instantly goes to for picking a defence, is what are the other team good at? If they're good at set pieces and long throws and stuff like that, which Brentford are, then you're going to need a bit of height in the back four, which is also a perk of having someone like Stones who can play right back. It means you can have an extra body in there that's good from a set piece. It gives you, that extra comfort in defence. I've just seen that Alec Johnson said, who's the ref, Jamie Millsy is right. It is Peter Banks with David Coote on VAR. I don't know if anyone has any opinions on that. I don't really care, to be honest, but Those are your officials. But back onto the back four, and I suppose Rodri even comes into this situation. Like I've seen people saying in the chat that he seems a bit leggy. He got taken off just after half time against Chelsea, got that essentially second half off. So he should be relatively fresh, or at least fresher. And again, he's another body that he's a danger from set. We saw last season he's a danger from set pieces on, when we attack. But he's also very good at defending them because he's another very tall person. Which again, this is the main thing. It doesn't matter how we win. This is another opportunity to put pressure on Arsenal. I think they're playing Wolves, which granted Wolves aren't very good at the moment, but again, the point still stands. The same point that I made against Chelsea. We win, we put the pressure on Arsenal to go and win. Win minimum to be top going into the World Cup, which is exactly what we should aim to do, whether it's 1-0, 2-0, 5-0, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But stopping Brentford, because, listen, Brentford are a team that I think are capable of going 1-0 up and just sitting there and hoping even to nick a point at that point. I think they're more than capable of at least trying that, and you never know, it might work on the day. So keeping them out, us getting the first goal might be crucial. So I think the height in the defence, if I was to be picking fully fit, I wouldn't have Diaz in there. I would have Laporte because I think he's better at dealing with set pieces. But he got taken off against Chelsea. The word was there was discomfort. I mean, he was in training. There was nothing mentioned in the press conference. But I did make it last night, and I guess I just didn't change it. But either way, like, it's probably not right. Like, he's probably going to play Ake because, well, it seems to be in the Champions League and the Carabao Cup that there's a set partnership. It was Diaz and Laporte. But in the Premier League recently, it's been Akanji and Ake. So I can easily see Ake being in there, but again, it's not my preference. He's the shortest out of the lot, and against a team that will rely on set pieces as their main outlet, it's not ideal, really. It's not like the end of the world. It's just not ideal. We've got other options that'd be better suited.
Boyce 88 says, Huberto, good to see you, my friend. Boyce, hope you're doing well, my friend. Listen, there's about 30 people in the building right now. Let's get the likes up a little bit. If you haven't smashed the like button, make sure you've hit the like. It helps the channel massively. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. We're having kind of a chill one tonight. There's nothing too serious to talk about. We're kind of just having a relaxed chat about tomorrow's game, because it's hard to talk about this one, not in the sense that you don't want to talk about it, but it's not one of those ones where you can talk about, who's going to have a big game, who needs to put in a big performance. No one is going to go in and feel like, I need to smash this game, particularly not on our side. I'm going to talk about a point Darsh Meta said in the chat here in a sec, which I think is very relevant. But from our overall point, or our overall perspective, no one in our team, you should expect, is going to go into this game thinking, I'm going to run the legs off myself, I'm going to throw myself into every 50-50, I'm going to give my all for the shirt today. It's just one of those unique days where all the players will be saying, right, as a collective unit, let's get the 3 points, let's do our thing, no injuries, and move on. Nothing pretty, nothing sexy about it. It just is what it is. We'll move on, and hopefully everybody's fit and healthy to go to Qatar. Obviously, I'd prefer if none of our players were going to Qatar. I'd prefer if no City player was going to the World Cup, if Pep and City just turned around to all the FA around the world and said, nope, City ain't taking part. But unfortunately, that's not a reality. I mean, that's just me being selfish, but that's not a reality. So you kind of just have to hope that there's no injuries, they get through this fine, and they don't get injured in Qatar. What Darsh was saying was Tony will be vexed after not getting the call-up, so expect him to take his frustrations on City, and we need our defenders to use his emotions against him. That is a very relevant point, and that's kind of relevant to the conversation we're having about defence, which is that they need to be on form. Whilst, of course, all of them will be conscious of the fact that they're going to the World Cup, but they also need to be conscious of the fact that they're playing in a Premier League game. The Premier League game will continue after the World Cup. We still have a Premier League to win. We still have competitions to win. They need to put in a performance. You cannot down tools. You cannot take the piss and do absolutely nothing tomorrow on the basis that you're saving yourself to get in that plane to Qatar. But you're right, Ivan Toney, who will be pretty pissed off, I'd imagine. He's had an absolutely fantastic season so far for Brentford. He's shown that he's getting closer, if not already there, for a move from Brentford to a club with bigger expectations. I don't know which club. I think there's plenty of clubs could do with an Ivan Toney right now. He will. Ivan Toney is going to be the polar opposite to what I'm talking about in regards to our players. He's going to go in with a serious vengeance. Callum Wilson got picked over him. I rate Callum Wilson, but Tony's going to look at it like, nah, I should be on that plane. I deserve to be there. So he's going to come to the Etihad tomorrow and say, fuck this shit. I'm putting in a stormer. I'm going to get stuck into Diaz. I'm going to get stuck into Akanji or Ake, whoever's playing, and I'm going to score goals. He's going to be a threat. He's going to be on smoke tomorrow. So that's why I worry a little bit. I'm not going to predict this when we get to our predictions towards the end of the stream. It won't be one of my usual, confident this, Grealish scores this many goals. It won't be like that. It's going to be a really frustrating game tomorrow. Unless, things just go completely our way. We score 2 or 3 early goals, put the game to bed, then it's just game management at that point. That would be great. That's what we all want. But I'm expecting the more reserved approach, the more kind of cautious approach where, everyone's got the safety button on a little bit. What are people saying in the chat? Got a feeling Arsenal will slip up. We may touch in a little bit on Arsenal Wolves as well at some point because it obviously is relevant to us. I want to see Mahrez in the starting lineup. We're going to get up to the front three now very shortly because I actually disagree with you, Joe, slightly. Up the gunner, says Boyce88. Man, big up Arsenal. They're doing a very good job in fairness. I hope we can outdo you and go on to win the Premier League, but I can't argue with Arsenal, man. They're doing a very good job. England is winning the World Cup and Harry Kane will win the Golden Boot at the World Cup. Yeah, and I'm going to go to the moon next year with Elon Musk. England has not won the World Cup and Harry Kane's not winning any trophies in his whole entire career. I'm putting that on record. Harry Kane will never, ever win a trophy. I'm being dead serious when I say that. He's fucked up. Yeah, clip that, man. Clip that. Harry Kane will never win a trophy. I'm being dead serious. He's fucked up, man. He's fucked up. He should have forced his way to Tottenham to come to us last summer. Then he would have got trophies. He's now stuck at Tottenham Hotspur. Long-term contract. No release clause. No one's going to be able to get him unless he forces his way out when he's 32, 33. Tottenham ain't winning trophies. England ain't winning trophies. That time last summer against Italy in Wembley, Euros final, that was the chance. That was the big chance for Harry Kane to make his move, to make his statement and put himself down as one of the greats. Up Donegal too, lad. Yes, big up Donegal, man. Big up all the Irish people. If there's anybody from Ireland in the chat, big up you. Big love as always. Into midfield, Rodri, De Bruyne and Bernardo. I agree with this. I think Gunda might feel a bit hard done by to not be in there, but I also think it's the right decision from Joe to go with Rodri, De Bruyne and Bernardo. And the point Joe was making on Rodri is absolutely accurate. I mean, when you actually deep it, Rodri has played a crazy amount of football this season. Now, it's not his fault, or it's not the club, it's not Pep's fault. It's kind of through injury, it's things you can't really plan ahead for. Calvin Phillips was meant to come in and be that extra bit of weight in that area of the pitch. He was meant to come in and Rodri and Phillips could kind of share that role a little bit more, or at least take a lot of the weight off Rodri and let Calvin Phillips do more than or what Rodri's doing now, or take over some of the work Rodri's doing now. But then Calvin Phillips obviously got a long-term injury, and all of a sudden Rodri's in a position where once again he has to play 90 minutes all the time. And then even in games where he was rested, sometimes he had to be brought on. I mean, the Sevilla game not so long ago, where Sevilla were posing one of those aerial threats that we were speaking about a few minutes ago, we had to bring Rodri on because he added some height. There was no height. I think there was maybe one player on the pitch from Manchester City, or 2 players on the pitch, including the keeper, who were over 6 foot. So Rodri was called into action in a dead rubber game, and that's minutes he didn't need. So Rodri's probably tired. And once again tomorrow, I don't know how he's going to look. I'm not going to say he's going to look tired, but he's obviously going to be a massive thing for Spain in this World Cup, and that's going to be on his mind. I mean, yeah, when you think about it, players don't get many World Cups. They grow up dreaming, particularly South American players, Mediterranean players, they grow up dreaming of playing in the World Cup for their country. That's the big thing. The big thing is winning the World Cup for your country. That's what they go to sleep thinking about. So they're thinking about this as a case of, right, I'm on the plane to Qatar. I have this opportunity that I've dreamt of. I'm only going to get maybe 2 or 3 of these opportunities in my whole career. I don't want anything to fuck it up. So we just need Rodri to just do his job tomorrow. Just be smart, be pragmatic, do your thing, and hopefully maybe if we're winning the game by 60 minutes, you can bring on Calvin Phillips. I'm sure Gareth Southgate is hoping that Calvin Phillips gets 30, 35 minutes tomorrow because it'll only improve his fitness going towards the World Cup. And then Bernardo and De Bruyne. I mean, I imagine it's De Bruyne's last World Cup. I don't know how many Bernardo might have. Obviously, he's slightly younger. But in terms of them, I think De Bruyne, he's experienced enough to do these games and win them, put in good performances without really busting, his arse. We've seen De Bruyne do crazy things in games of football without actually breaking a sweat. That's just the way he is. He's that good. He's got enough experience under his belt. And with Bernardo, we kind of just need Bernardo to be himself. We need that relentless energy, which is obviously something that he may not want to do with the World Cup coming up, but he's just going to have to. I mean, like I said, I get it. You're all going to World Cup and you all want to be fit for the World Cup, but fuck that for right now. We've got a Premier League to win. Like I said, we've got 3 points to get tomorrow. Put that on hold. It's a tricky one, Joe. It's a tricky one.
It is, because it is the last sort of hurdle that these players have to get over in terms of fitness. Like, everyone knows if they're going or if they're not, and it's literally everyone apart from Mahrez and Haaland is going to the World Cup. So maybe there is an argument to say start Mahrez. He's got nothing to lose. Like, he's not going to the World Cup. He'll put in effort, and he did have a good game. Well, a good game for the most part against Chelsea. So I guess it's an argument for when we get into the front three, but I think De Bruyne with a full rest against Chelsea, he's nailed on. I think Phillips just isn't ready to start, and we need the height from Rodri, so he's nailed on to start. I think the only world in which Phillips gets minutes is if we're comfortable. Even if it's 1-0, if we're comfortable in the game, if we're coasting, Brentford aren't causing any troubles, I think we might see him. But if the game is still tight, then we're not going to see him, because, again, the 3 points is more important. Whether Rodri looks knackered or not, the 3 points is the 3 points. And if Rodri has to look tired for the last 10 minutes, and so be it. Like, the most important thing is getting the result. So I think he'll be fine. I think the rest against Chelsea would have done him a bit of good. You know, have that sort of 40 minutes where he's not playing football. So yeah, I'm very confident. I mean, you say Gundogan's harsh to miss out, but while granted, when we were down to 10 against Fulham, he was exceptional. Apart from that, I don't think he's been that good. I don't think he's been that good apart from the start of the season when he was in over Bernardo Silva. I don't think he's been that good recently, so I don't think it is harsh. To be honest, I mean, I could definitely see a world in which he does start because he's a goal threat, but he hasn't been the greatest this season. I don't know whether it's the contract situation playing on his mind or, you know, various other things, or whether, I don't know, whether it's this sort of injury that's not going away that he can't get rid of, or whether it's just his age catching up to him. I don't know, but the fact of the matter is he hasn't really shown any consistency. Not that he's got consistent minutes, but he hasn't really, you know, performed when he's been given the chances. Apart from that one game against Fulham, where, again, he was very, very good. But apart from that, it's just kind of been a bit average, but I suppose that's the type of player that he is. He's an under-the-radar player. I love Ilkay Gundogan. He goes about and he does his business, sort of 7 out of 10 most games, but it's when you're competing with Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, you can't do 7 out of 10s and expect to start games of football, because that's not how it works in this team. You have to do something outstanding if you want to start. And even then, Bernardo probably still gets in on the right anyway, even if Gundogan does weave his way into the team. Like, that's how good he is, that he just has to play no matter where you put him. So I don't think it's too harsh for him to miss out. I mean, I could see a reality in which he does play. I'm not too sure on Foden playing. I don't know what's going on with him. He hasn't played football in ages. He didn't even come on against Chelsea, which is why I put him in, because if he's not being brought on against... Yeah.
We'll talk about Foden when we get to the front three. I want to have a conversation about that.
It's a bit weird, that one, but I think the midfield is pretty nailed on. He's probably the most nailed on thing we've got going right now in terms of team predictions. Like, even Haaland at this point, because of his fitness doubts, he's not nailed on. I think you've got the goalkeeper. I think Cancelo's nailed on when he's not suspended, obviously. And then the midfield. Apart from that, it's fair game for anyone.
I think the Gundogan thing, Alex says Gundogan the most underrated player ever, and that there may be an element of truth to that. I think Gundogan, I speak often on this channel about unrewarding roles in the team, and unfortunately for Gundogan, similar to Grealish, it's an unrewarded role in the team. Gundogan, please. The expectation you have of Gundogan is very different to Bernardo. They're both expected to hit heights and have big performances, but you expect different outputs from them. With Bernardo, you expect that relentless energy we always speak about, that constant intensity, the pressing, the technical ability, and sometimes a goal threat. But with Gundogan, you expect a very composed technical footballer who'll dictate the flow of the game. He'll make passes, he'll slow things down, he'll speed things up when he needs to. And then, of course, he's the king of ghosting in the back post, as I think Sean Goder said in the final day of the season there when he scored that winning goal. So you expect different things, but Gundogan it's slightly more unrewarding, so he won't get the flowers that Bernardo Silva will. Bernardo Silva is a bit more flary, bit more sexy footballer to watch than Gundogan, but I've got massive appreciation for Ilkay Gundogan. It's just the way it is for him. But I think, the midfield kind of speaks for itself. Rodri, De Bruyne and Bernardo, we just need them to put in 7, 8 out of 10s each, and I think we should win this game. We always said from the moment we started this channel, we always said that if you win the midfield battle, you'll win the game. This midfield three we've chosen is more than good enough to win any midfield battle. So as long as they can drop a 7, 7.5 out of 10 tomorrow each, I think we'll win the game. I think that's the way it'll go. We'll control the game, they'll do their things, and that'll be the way it is. I personally, if I see any player on the pitch tomorrow, don't care who it is, that is clearly or obviously on the eye, looking like they've got safety mode on. They don't care. We're struggling to win this game. I'll be really fuming. I'll call them out on the review stream on Sunday night. I'll call them out and I'll say that's just the way it was. I have no problem criticizing Manchester City players when they deserve to be criticized. I know on the Big Six, people might say, oh, Hugh's biased. He never criticized any of his players. He never has a bad word to say about City. That's just because on these big public platforms, I will defend my club to the core. But listen, on this channel, I'll speak the truth and I'll speak nothing but the truth. I want honesty. I want hard work from the players tomorrow. I get it. I get the whole thing. Qatar's coming up. You want to be there. You want to be fit. You want to be fresh. But right now, your primary role tomorrow, your primary job tomorrow, to beat Brentford for Manchester City. And I want that to be the case. I want every player to understand that. So as long as Bernardo, De Bruyne and Rodri do that, and they go by what I'm saying, if they're listening right now, if they're one of the 25 people in the building, if you are one of the 25 people in the building, smash the like button. It does help us grow massively. And subscribe to the channel. Nice one, Kev. Nice one, Rodri. Nice one, Bernardo. Just do your thing, man. Just do your thing, and we should win this game. I really want these 3 points. Just get us into the second half of the season, at least on Arsenal's tails. If we win tomorrow, then we can come across our fingers and hope Wolves, with a new manager bounce, can pull off a bit of a madness. Then we can go win top of the league. That would be fantastic. Top of the league for 6 weeks. Move into the second half of the season. All pressure is on Arsenal. Let's see how they can handle the adversity of not being top of the league for the first time after a game week this season. Listen, we'll move into the front three. This is where it gets most interesting. I'm going to start off on the left this time and say Grealish is nailed on. Grealish is nailed on to start on that left-hand side for me, based on his absolutely outstanding performance against Chelsea. And I know a lot of you watching right now are probably smiling, saying, this Hugh guy never criticizes Grealish. He's always gassing up Grealish. For once, at least maybe for the first time ever, it's absolutely deserved for me to gas up Jack Grealish. He was exceptional against Chelsea. He deserves to start, and I think he will start. I'm going to go back over to the right-hand side now. Joe has gone with Phil Foden. I believe Phil Foden will not start tomorrow. I think there's a high possibility Phil Foden will not see the pitch tomorrow. I genuinely think that. I think, first of all, Riyad Mahrez has been good. He's been actually quite good. I said it on last night's stream. I think he's finishing off this segment of the season in good fashion. We know no one hides away from the fact that Riyad Mahrez started off this part of the this season pretty slowly, pretty poorly, missing penalties, not really being creative, not looking like the Riyad Mahrez that we all know and love. He just didn't, and that's just us being honest and real. You know, like I said, we keep it real on this channel. But the last 2-3 weeks, he's looked good. He's being more aggressive. He's being more ruthless. He's getting a few goals. Good free kick against Chelsea. There was another couple of goals before that as well. He looks better. I think he's going to come in with confidence. And Pep can also trust Mahrez to give 100% tomorrow. We know Mahrez, if he takes the pitch, will give 110% tomorrow. Why? He ain't going to Qatar. Where's his flight to? Malaga. He's going to Marbella. Yeah, he's not going anywhere near Qatar. He's going to Marbella with big Haaland. So he'll put in 110% tomorrow, and then he'll go off to Marbella and chill out with Haaland in the sun. No football to be played. So he's thinking, yeah, I'll give my all against Brentford. I've got to chill out for 6 weeks. I'll watch the World Cup on TV with my feet up. Happy fucking days. Phil Foden, on the other hand, Joe said it. He's not played much football in recent weeks. Why? My hunch, my personal belief, and I've seen rumours suggesting that my belief is true, is that Phil Foden has actually told Pep Guardiola, I'm going to keep it 100. I'm going to keep it real. I'm thinking about Qatar, man. I'm thinking about the World Cup. I want to make my name on international football. I want this to be the statement tournament for me, Phil Foden, because he hasn't had that yet. Obviously, he was quite good. He was all right for England in the Euros. Didn't play in the final through injury. He's thinking, this is my next tournament. This is now the next step in my career where I can make my name and put my name up in lights. I believe, anyway. My belief is what happens is as follows. Pep sat the whole team down. Yeah, he addressed them all, and he said, listen, lads, if any of you are starting to think about Qatar and you're taking the foot off the gas at club level and you're just thinking about your World Cup campaign coming up, it's fine, it's cool. I don't think Pep was going to break any relationships or burn any bridges over this. I think he just wanted honesty. He wanted the players to be real and say, I actually am. I'm going to be real. And I think Phil Foden went to Pep and said, I'll keep it 100 with you. I am thinking about Qatar. And that's why we've not seen Phil Foden play, because there's no other explanation. There really is no other real explanation as to why Phil Foden hasn't started the games. He's played well this season. Phil Foden scored a hat-trick against Man United. He scored other goals against other teams. Every time Foden's played this season, he's been really, really good. He's actually upped his levels on last season. And I've been calling for it since the start of the season. Grealish, Haaland, Foden, when they're all fit, they're all fresh, they're all healthy, they're all focused. But right now, Foden isn't focused, in my opinion. Now, if he's watching this, he might be saying, who's this prick from Ireland suggesting I'm not giving my all 100%, because no one wants to be called out for not giving 100%. But they're human beings. They're human beings. They're thinking World Cup. I want to be fit. I want to be fresh. Phil Foden felt the pain. He felt the pain of missing out on a Euros final for his country, the biggest game in his country's history since 1966. He missed out on that through injury. He doesn't want to miss out any more big international stages through injury. And I believe that's why Pep hasn't chosen him. And that's why Pep has played Riyad Mahrez, even though initially Mahrez was out of form. But it was on the basis that you can trust Mahrez to give us all. And we also know with Riyad Mahrez, you can play him into form. If you give Mahrez consistent time, he will eventually click. And I think we are seeing Mahrez click. He has clicked a little bit in recent weeks. And that's my explanation. That's the only conclusion I can come to. It's not me shitting on Phil Foden saying he's not been good enough or he's not interested in City. I believe he is interested in City. And he does care. 100% he wants to win the Premier League. But just his own nature right now is he wants to win the World Cup with England. He wants to make a statement on that England national team. He wants to put his name up in lights at an international level. And you know what? I get it. On a human level, I get it. But on a selfish level, which is the way I am right now, I'm selfish because I don't give a fuck about England or the World Cup because Ireland aren't there. I'm a bit salty about that. That's just the way I think it is. I don't know. That's my thought process, Joe. What do you reckon about that one?
Well, I mean, I disagree with a number of points. If I'm going to be totally honest, I don't think Mahrez has been... But he was good against Chelsea.
No, he's been better. He hasn't been great. He's been better.
I disagree with the fact that he's how you said recent weeks. It's one game. He played well against Chelsea. That's about it.
I thought he was good against Sevilla.
If I'm going to be totally honest, right? I know he got a goal. I thought he was dreadful against Sevilla, but he got a goal. So I guess you can kind of go, he was all right, I suppose. He didn't see the pitch against Fulham. And he played well against Chelsea. I don't think he's played well in recent weeks. I think he's come off the back of a good performance, but there's no evidence to suggest he's back. There's no evidence to suggest that he's ending this half of the season strong, because he's not. It's one game. I don't think there's any evidence. Now, I think there's a good chance that he will play, because, again, he's off the back of a good performance. He's not going to the World Cup, so he will at least try, regardless of if him trying means we'll go back to how we started the season or not. I mean, we're yet to find out whether we'll put a streak together. But I don't think he's been particularly standout, to be honest. But at the same time, like, I don't know what's going on with Foden. The last 3 Premier League games he hasn't started. He didn't even see the pitch against Chelsea. He started in midfield against Sevilla. I thought he was all right. Just nothing really worked for him, but he was okay. But that's the last game he started was a dead rubber. Like, it's weird. He's our second top goal scorer this season, joint second with Alvarez. Like, I don't really understand why he's not seeing the pitch, or at least starting games. I don't know. I think for me, he's in a similar place to Haaland right now, which is if he doesn't start against Brentford, then why did he not get on against Chelsea? If you're not going to start him because he's got other focuses, then well, at least make sure that he's still getting minutes and keeping relatively match sharp, and give him 20 minutes against Chelsea. That's the thing that really puzzles me, which is why I put him in, just because he hasn't played a lot of football. Like, when is he going to play? If he's focused on the World Cup, fine. Again, like I said, don't start him because he has other priorities, but at least bring him on in a game where, you think you've got it over the line, or you have got it over the line, where it does, like, you can afford to bring him on if he has other focuses and he's not giving 100%. Like Chelsea game was done. I don't know why he didn't come on if he's not going to start against Brentford. I don't understand that. And I miss seeing him play football because he's been absolutely brilliant this season, especially the start. But recently, I don't know what's going on. Grealish went through a similar patch a few weeks ago, maybe now was it, where he finally hit consistency and then he didn't see the pitch all too often for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. So I don't really know what's going on there. I know it worked against Chelsea, but I'm not looking forward to a Grealish-Mahrez wing combo. You can have your one-offs, but again, there's more evidence to suggest that it doesn't work. Like, again, I think that Chelsea game was a one-off, man. I don't think that Grealish and Mahrez is a wing combo that works. I just don't think it works. I don't think it'll ever work, to be honest, but if he wants to go for it, he wants to go for it. It's still good enough to beat Brentford. Like, no disrespect and all that, but it's still good enough to beat Brentford. Like, regardless of what he does, if we're losing, Foden can come on. If Haaland's not starting, Haaland can come on. He's fit enough to play. Like, we have the options there to bring him on. So I'm not really too pushed, to be honest. I reckon we'll see more Foden after the World Cup. And if we if we don't see more Foden after the World Cup, something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong if that doesn't happen. Because I can't think of a reason. Like you said, there's no other reason he's not starting games other than the fact that he's just got other focuses and he's not willing to risk getting injured. Because I think he knows in his mind that he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet in Qatar. Or at least at the start of the tournament, he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet. So maybe that is. I mean, I'm surprised him out of all players is worried about World Cup. I mean, what, he's 22? It's not his last World Cup. Like, he's got more ahead of him. He's got many more international tournaments ahead of him, so I don't know why he's giving it so much focus. And it's not like we're going to win the thing anyway. I don't know. It's strange. Very strange, but I think Grealish is the nailed-on one there. You never know. It could be a front two. Maybe he doesn't want to drop Alvarez completely, even if Haaland comes back in and he gives the front two a run out again. You never know. You could see that because I think, listen, we're dealing with Haaland. We're dealing with an absolute phenomenon here. That any other team, Alvarez doesn't get dropped. Even if their main number 9 comes back, Alvarez will stay in the team. But because it's Haaland and he's already in the 20s for goals this season, you just, if he's fit, you play him. If he's fit, you play. It doesn't matter who took his place. Doesn't matter how well they did while he was out. It's Haaland. You play him if he's fit. You play him if you need 3 points.
We'll get on to Haaland. I want to give Haaland his own conversation because there's obviously some quotes from Pep Guardiola's press conference. But on the Foden thing, it is a weird one, and you're right. If he doesn't get consistent game time, or at least if he's not one of the first names in the team sheet post World Cup, there's some sort of an issue there that we're not aware of. But I'm going to give the situation the benefit of the doubt to suggest there is no issue we're not aware of. It's just the simple case of different priorities, or he's got a priority that's not Manchester City right now. And you know what? Okay, that's fine. And I think you're right that probably any other manager in the world, or any just basic manager in the world, would do what you're talking about. Bring on Foden in the last 20 minutes against Chelsea just to keep him fit. But the way I believe Pep Guardiola operates is that if a player is not fully focused, you're not seeing the pitch at all. You're getting the cut completely. You'll be on the bench, whatever you can warm up, but you're just not going to play. Simple as. Pep doesn't want anybody on the pitch who's not fully focused on the task at hand. We're not really a team these days, or ever under Pep Guardiola, that just sees games out. I know we've done it before because that's in-game management, but the overall plan of every game is to keep scoring, keep playing, keep doing our thing. Don't let the flow of the game or what's happening in the game take away from the way we're playing. Keep going for goals. And if Pep feels Foden isn't going to do that when he comes on, Foden's not going to see the pitch, and that's the only conclusion I can come to with Phil Foden. So I think the front three tomorrow will consist of Grealish on one wing and Mahrez on the other wing, and then up front through the middle. Actually, so before we get on to the thing through the middle, I want to address what D1's saying here. Hugh, did you see that report that Dortmund is confident of keeping Bellingham? I hope not. Of course, Dortmund are going to say that. Of course, Dortmund are going to say they're confident of keeping Jude Bellingham. There was a point last season where they were confident of keeping Erling Haaland. They were saying, yeah, we believe we can keep Erling Haaland. They offered Haaland a massive pay package. They were willing to break their own wage structure record to try and keep Haaland, but Haaland said no. They'll do likewise for Bellingham. They'll offer Bellingham an increased wage. They'll do their best to hold on to him. We all know he's leaving. Bellingham is not staying. He won't play for Dortmund next summer. But they don't want to just bend over every single time a big club comes in for one of their best players. They want to make it look at least like they're trying to hold on to their best talent, because their fans are just going to get pissed off. Everybody involved with Dortmund is just going to get pissed off if every single time a club comes in for one of their best players, they go, right, he's gone, nothing we can do. It's not the way football operates, people. It's not the way big clubs operate, and Dortmund are a big club. Speaking of Haaland, let's get on to his situation, because it's not a press conference unless Pep Guardiola is asked about Erling Haaland. Well, actually, I saw a quote saying that Pep himself is going to play tomorrow. Pep apparently is going to play in defensive midfield, and Klopp is going to play at left back for Liverpool or something along those lines. Some mad shit was going on today's press conference, but of course, like I said, it's not a press conference without Haaland talk, the robot man. They need to talk about robot man, see what's going on with him. Obviously, we know that Haaland has some sort of ligament damage to his ankles, and when we all hear the words ligament damage, we get a bit nervous, we get a little bit shaky, because ligament damage is not it's not a very pretty thing, isn't it? Because it can mean long term. That's the thing with ligaments. It generally means long term. You're looking at 6 weeks to 4 months sometimes, and then obviously if it's ACL, which is ligaments in your knee, you can be looking at 8-9 months. We've seen that with poor old Virgil van Dijk and Leroy Sané, and plenty of others have had it in the past. But The weird thing about Haaland's ligament injury is that it's not a serious injury. It is ligament damage, but it's not serious to the point where he can't train or he can't play. We know he trained today. There's video footage of Haaland training for Manchester City today, even though the talk was mainly about Calvin Phillips, but you can see Haaland training alongside him. So we know he's able to actually run and play football, but it seems to be a case of they're very cautious and very nervous about aggravating this injury further, because if they do aggravate ligament damage further, you do start to look at prolonged time out of the game. If we were to play Haaland tomorrow, I think we will play Haaland tomorrow, but if he does pick up further damage on this injury, you then are starting to look towards the 4 or 5 month mark where he's not going to play for 4 or 5 months, because ligaments do not heal fast. Ligaments, to give you guys a bit of scientific knowledge here, you're going to get a bit of a lesson from Uncle Hugh here. It's like your elastic bands that kind of like keep your bones together. I'm not going to give you the terminology required because I ain't no scientist. Don't call me Dr. Hugh because I'm not that guy. But it's kind of like view it as like the glue / elastic bands, whatever kind of keeps your muscles moving all around and moving, flowing nicely. When you damage them, it's like tearing your band a little bit. Like imagine a little tear in an elastic band. You're not going to put it together very quickly again, are you? And that's what your ligament damage is. And Haaland apparently has some sort of damage on his ankle ligaments. Like I said, it seems like he's okay to play, he's okay to train on the basis that it's not for too long, and then if he gets a knock on it, it could get very serious. But the weird thing is he came on against Fulham, he scored his goal, ruled offside, scored his penalty, was on the bench against Chelsea, so it can't be too serious. Now, Joe said if he's fit to play, you play him. I agree. I think on the basis that there's 7 weeks or 6 weeks they've got a break after this Brentford game, play Haaland, take the risk, hopefully get the game won, or let Robot Man score a goal or two and put us in a good position. Take him off after 50-60 minutes. Let him relax. His break starts now. In the chat, people, 27 in the building, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and give us your thoughts in the chat. Would you play Haaland tomorrow? Would you play Haaland tomorrow? Bear in mind everything I've said. If we aggravate his injury further, he ain't playing. He's not going to play. If Haaland injures himself further tomorrow, you can rule him out immediately of the Liverpool game, the Chelsea game, and the Man United game. We're all thinking about this World Cup break as if every issue, every injury under the sun is going to be fixed during the World Cup. If someone gets a long-term injury tomorrow, they're out of Liverpool, Chelsea, and United. Think about it. Joe, you think Haaland should play, don't you?
Yeah, that's why I put him in the predicted 11. Of course he should play. If he's coming on for half an hour against Fulham and running about, and if he's on the bench against Chelsea with the thought of if we're losing, we can bring him on. Same logic for Brentford. He's fit enough, unless something has happened in training where he's been kicked to bits by someone, whoever that might be, then there's no further damage. So, if anything, it's only going to be further along to a full recovery. So there's, you would think, a lesser chance of aggravating it, although still a chance. That's the thing. I suppose it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, really, aren't you? Because if you don't start him and you end up in a losing position, you got to bring him on anyway, because you got to get the 3 points. But if you start him and we end up being able to take him off, there's a risk of injury either way, really. So it's a risk if you don't play him as well. That's the point I'm trying to make. If you don't play him, we could be in a losing situation where you have to bring him on and he aggravates it anyway. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, Alvarez is no bum. Well, Alvarez is no bum.
Alvarez is no bum, right? But if you're losing a game, who's the first man you look to on the bench in this squad?
Robot Man. Robot Man.
Exactly. It don't matter. You could go 2 up top, keep Alvarez on. You look at Robot Man to come and save you a game. Out of anyone, if you want a goal, bring on the robot.
You pull his charger out. You pull his charger out and you say, go out and play.
Like, you're going to take a risk either way. So I'd take the risk where you play him, because you got more chance of being able to win the game from the off and get it wrapped up earlier on and take him off. Even if it's, say, get 2-0 at half time and take him off. Like, it's still alright, isn't it? Like, imagine he scores one, was 2-0 up at half time, you take him off at half time, precautionary. Like, I'm fine with that. We should be able to see out 45 minutes against Brentford. Like, this team should be able to do that. So I don't know, I would play him if he's fit. Again, I go back to the point of it could be a front two. I think Alvarez I'd feel really bad for dropping him, but again, it's the robot. Like, come on, there's no one else in world football that again, like he's the only man that you drop someone on form for because he's just that good. But again, I can see with the fact that Foden isn't playing, maybe he doesn't want to play Mahrez for whatever reason, and he wants to stick Bernardo out on the right and go with a 4-4-2 again. We've seen that multiple times, haven't we? And the last time we saw that was against Dortmund, where he actually picked up that injury, so might be tempting fate there. But again, you play him. You play him. Why? Again, he's in the same situation as Foden, albeit, again, he's going to put in effort because he's not got a World Cup, where if you're not going to start him, you give him 10, 20 minutes. You know, make sure he's getting minutes in the legs. Make sure he's still, you know, he missed what, 2 or 3 games with that injury. He needs to slowly build up the minutes again to start playing again. And if he didn't come on against Chelsea, that tells me he's going to start against Brentford, or at least play a part against Brentford, half an hour maybe. Even if we're winning, I don't know what Pep's going to do. Again, it's hard to get inside the mind of Pep because I don't think even he's inside his own head sometimes when he does these things. So, you know, you just have to guess and hope. I mean, as you were talking about Haaland, there was a piece from Jack Gone on Mail Sport Online, or Mail Online Sport, I got that the wrong way, I'm tired, leave me alone, saying Haaland will spend 3 weeks away in the World Cup break, which, again, going off partying in Marbella, hopefully he doesn't slip in the shower and break a leg or something. Like, there's no reason why you go, like, he's not going to the World Cup. Like, you're not really risking an injury. He has that long layoff where, I mean, that piece from Jack going there saying you're spending 3 weeks away. You're spending 3 weeks away, not training, not doing anything. Like, just on holiday, essentially, for 3 weeks. There's no real risk. And then that's the time where he's still got this little niggle, doesn't he, in his ankle, where this is the 3 weeks where he can then go and recover. And then when he turns back from that 3 week break, he can return to training, leather some shots past poor Scott Carson, hopefully manage to keep his wrist intact. God bless that man. I'm praying for him this international break. But that 3 week holiday is going to be used for his rehab, essentially, where he fully recovers and then he's back in training. And I think there was, I can't remember who said it, but they were going off to, Abu Dhabi to do some warm weather training while the World Cup was going on with whoever's left. So, yeah, I mean, you play him. And if you've got no intention to play him because he's injured, then why is he on the bench?
That's just it. There's a bit of divide in the chat, though. I'm reading through you guys' messages as Joe was talking there. Some people seem to believe, don't play him. Russ says, nah, no need to start him against Brentford. Start Alvarez, give him minutes, keep Haaland on the bench to bring him on in case things go wrong. I think every answer to this situation is valid. I think no matter what argument you put forward, it's valid. Like Joe said, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. People suggesting, a front two of Haaland and Alvarez. Alvarez is also in that boat. He's going to the World Cup with Argentina. He wants to win that Copa Mundial with Messi in Argentina. So, I mean, is he focused on Argentina? Is he focused on City? In fairness to the kid, it looks like he's been very focused on City in recent weeks. He has given us all. And just on the Haaland thing, aggravating the injury further. In fairness, like, the way Haaland plays football, he doesn't do a lot of running. Haaland doesn't move, and cover great amounts of space. He doesn't cover a lot of ground. I'd love to see his stats after a game in terms of like how many kilometers per game he's ran. Like you look at, say, Bernardo, we've seen his stats like 14, 15 kilometers a game. The guy's doing half marathons per game. I wouldn't say Haaland covers 6, 7 kilometers. Haaland just knows when to move and where to move to. He's one of those really instinctive, smart strikers. So the fact that he plays like that, there's less chance he's going to further aggravate his injury. I think the only way you see Haaland further aggravate his ligament injury is through contact. So say someone like Ben Mee decides they want to crop Haaland, which the thing is, most defenders in England and around Europe would love the opportunity to absolutely snap Haaland. So every time he takes the pitch, there will be defenders looking to do that. But on a good day where that doesn't happen, the way he plays, he's not going to further aggravate his injury. I think unless there's connection, there's physical contact there. So I don't know. Will Haaland start? I think he will. And I think Pep knows he will. And I think Pep knew today he will, even though they said they'll assess him through training. I think Pep knew earlier in the week, a couple of days ago, that Haaland will play against Brentford. Why was he on the bench against Chelsea? Why did he come on against Fulham? Why did he trained every single day since then to just not play against Brentford? I think he's going to play. And I think the front three will be Grealish, Haaland, and Riyad Mahrez. And listen, the bottom line is, people, it's just a matter of getting the 3 points. We've kind of spoke about through the predicted starting 11 and substitutes as well. Who's focused, who's not focused, what we expect, what we maybe don't expect. there's a lot of sub stories to this, and this game, it's going to be a sticky one. For me, it has sticky written all over it. Brentford at home, half 12. Brentford don't have many, if really any players going to the World Cup. They will look to come out for a draw. They'll play on the fact that we've got a lot of players going to the World Cup. They may view it as an opportunity to pick up some points or steal some points really in a place that they wouldn't on a normal day. You know, if this was 4 weeks ago, I think we steamroll Brentford. Even with Ivan Toney, I think we steamroll Brentford. No disrespect to them, I actually quite like Brentford as a club. It's going to be a tough one. Sorry, D1 Millie has a question for you here, Joe. He says, question for Joe. I need your advice. Should I captain Haaland in FPL tomorrow?
It depends who you have. I know that Tottenham are playing Leeds, so if you have Harry Kane, I'd probably stick your captain on him. That's just my hunch.
There you go. He says Harry Kane. That's Joe's word of FPL advice for the week. We may make that a segment, people. If you want that every week, we can get Joe's FPL advice, because personally, I don't take fancy Premier League too seriously. I always started.
Listen, you took it seriously when you were top about 2 weeks in, and then as soon as you went to the bottom, you're like, nah, I don't care anymore.
I'm one of these sore losers that once I start dropping down the table, I'm like, yeah, I don't even care about that game. It's shit anyway. Like, who plays that? But listen, yeah, if you want regular advice on fancy Premier League, Joe is probably a good man to ask. And if you want it, we can make that happen. Alec, Haaland scores hat-tricks with 27 touches. Ask Rags fans. Yeah. Listen, that was uncalled for, Alec. That was unnecessary. The poor United fans. I agree with you, Joe. Makes sense, says Ryan. Play him, why not? It's why we got him. That's it, man. That's it. It's why we got Haaland. But, you know, like we said, Alvarez is no bum either, and he's probably flying quite high right now. Alvarez probably has a lot of confidence because he's playing well, and he feels like he's probably growing week by week by week into this role at Manchester City and the expectations and the pressures of the whole situation. So big up Julian Alvarez. Listen, we're going to wrap it up now in the next 2-3 minutes. I said it was just going to be like a short enough one tonight, a relaxed one. There wasn't too much to say about this game other than the kind of reservations we have, the slight worries we have going into the game. Campbell says, I'm feeling a defender header goal tomorrow. Campbell, I don't care who scores tomorrow, mate. I really don't care who scores. I don't care if Haaland doesn't play a single minute and we win 1-0. I don't care if it's a absolute thunderblast of a shot from outside the box. I don't care if it's a scruffy tap-in. I don't care if it's an own goal. I don't care if it's a penalty. I'll take a 1-0 and I'll take those 3 points. Thank you very much. Get your score predictions in. There's still 30 people in the building. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell, so you don't miss it when we go live. We'll be back on, I think, Sunday with a review. I'll tell you at the end of the stream what the plan is for the sort of next week or so. Anyways, Joe, you may as well fire us away with your score predictions, and as always, who's going to score a goal, my friend?
Gonna go with, I didn't think about a goal scorer, to be honest. I didn't think that far through, but I've had 2-0 in my head for the last like half an hour, so I'm going to go with 2-0 for goal scorer. Say
it. Say it.
No.
Say it.
No. I'm not doing no double jinx. Leave me alone. Now, listen, you can say that when you get to yours, right? No.
Say it. Say it.
Say
his name. Say his name. We're manifesting, people here. We're manifesting it. Say it.
I'm gonna go for a Kevin De Bruyne goal.
Fuck off.
You're disappointed.
Come on, man. Right, isn't it? One of these days I'll get Joe. One of these days I'll get Joe.
You did get me one time, actually. I have predicted a Grealish goal before and he didn't score. So never again. I'm past it. I'm done.
Right, so Joe says 2-0 and a Kevin De Bruyne goal. I think that's a fairly understandable prediction. I think it's one of those games where none of us are going to go too heavy and suggest City will absolutely batter Brentford. It could happen. Obviously, it could happen. I mean, there is, like, we didn't really touch on the possibility here either of give the players the benefit of the doubt and suggest that they will go balls to the wall tomorrow on the basis that it is the last game before the World Cup. There's every possibility they do that. They rile themselves up and say, right, one last 90 minutes, let's take the risk, let's go for broke, get the 3 points, and hopefully finish this weekend top of the league. But me and Joe are slightly more reserved in those sort of situations. Usually I'm actually more optimistic, but I'm a bit more like Joe. I'm feeling a bit more like B-Moons tonight than I usually would. Alex says Ederson goal. That's what people are saying before I give mine. Dar says 3-0. Ryan says 4-1. Tyrone just joined the stream late. I'm sorry you missed most of it, Tyrone, but it's good to see you, as always, my friend. I hope you're doing well, and we'll see you on Sunday for the review. D1, my score prediction is 4-0, 2 for Haaland, 1 for Mahrez, and 1 for De Bruyne. 5-1 says Alec. Time for Babe Station. You go enjoy Babe Station, Alec, my friend, if it's that time of the night for you. Cambo Man says 4-0 a Kanji header. Right, people, some interesting score suggestions there. Like I said, it could be a battering, but my feeling with it being 12:30, with the World Cup on the horizon, I think it'll be a bit of a dogfight, a bit of a slog. I'm gonna go with listen, on the Big Six I said 2-0. I gave 2-0 to Turkish, and Joe's gonna stolen that from me. I'm gonna match Joe. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna match Joe. I'm gonna stick to what I said. I'm gonna say 2-0. I think Jack Grealish is going to score a goal. I think he's going to finish off this part of the season.
Who saw that one coming? Oh my god!
I think Jack Grealish is going to finish off this part of the season in style, and he's going to get a goal because he deserved one during the week and he didn't get one. Yeah, Barry McGowan says 3-0 Grealish to score. That's the energy I like, Barry. I want more people to predict and manifest Jack Grealish to score. We need to back our boy, Super Jack. We need to back him, manifest him. Yes, 2-0 for me. Jack Grealish goal. I think he deserves a goal, and I think it will be huge for him. I think he really, really deserves it. He's been great recently. Tyrone, whatever it takes to win, but hopefully Jack scores. Exactly, people. Keep manifesting Super Jack. Pep ain't going to allow them to be sloppy, even though the World Cup is coming. And the thing is, what might frighten the players a little bit is if they do make it weird or like poorly obvious that they're not trying tomorrow because of the World Cup, Pep will hold that grudge. Pep will put that away in his locker. He'll hold that in his head. He'll take his notes down, and that player will not see much of the pitch, at least for the first while after the World Cup. So there's a lot of things to think about there from the player's perspective, and I just hope we get it right tomorrow. I just hope we get it right, do the business, get in, get out, get 3 points, hopefully finish the weekend on top of the league. Big up Wolves, hold tight you, man. And listen, the plan for the next week or so is I think we'll be back on Sunday evening with a review show, or it'll be Sunday or Monday. We can either do Sunday evening and review the City game and whatever other Premier League games have gone on. Will the whole Premier League weekend be finished by Sunday? I think it will because the World Cup, won't it?
I am checking whether there's a Monday night game. Is there a Monday night game? No.
Right, well then we'll come back Sunday evening and we'll do a full Premier League weekend review. We'll talk about how Arsenal got on. Like I said, hold tight Wolves. Please God, they can get some sort of a result and we can go top of the league. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how United got on. There's a big game, Chelsea versus Newcastle, Tottenham, Leeds. Some big games. So on Sunday, we'll do a whole Premier League weekend review. Probably, maybe slightly earlier because I'm not working on Sunday. So we might do like a 9 or a half 9. Just keep the notification bell on. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss it when we do go live. And we'll see you then. Make sure you smash the like button on your way out. If you're watching on playback, smash the like button. If you're watching on playback or you're new here right now, hit subscribe. Why not? It's free to join the community. It's a great community we have going on. Big plans for the future. We'll see you Sunday anyway. Big up City. Wrap it up, Joe. Love.
Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand.